this week, a community activated a new coin for the city of Miami. So there's no partnership with Miami, nothing like that. Essentially how they did it was 20 wallets signaled the activation of mining, and about 150 blocks later, miners began mining Miami coin by forwarding stacks into the mining contract. So mining has been going on for, I don't know, almost 24 hours, and the city there's a reserved wallet that is held by Casa that is claimable by the city at any point in time in the future, like forever. So the city has yet to claim the wallet, and actually technically can't until their next commission meeting. But that city wallet has earned almost $250,000 in the past 24 hours. And I expect, I expect the city wallet to earn, millions of dollars by the end of this next 2-week time period. So it's kind of like a fiduciary duty for the city to claim their protocol contribution, as it were. But Miami Coin's cool. You can program apps with it, and there's going to be hackathons, like a whole hackathon series for programming with it. But some things to mention too, importantly, there was no pre-mine, no ICO. The community just like copied what Satoshi did and just started with open membership mining. But it's definitely popping off, that's for sure.
So awesome to see. Like, I feel like you've taken mining from like a hardware activity to a software activity with recycled proof of work. And I feel like it's amazing to see like so many people are jumping in, and it's also like probably the most decentralized way of like launching a project.
Yeah, absolutely. It was crazy because like the mining activation happened, and that was cool. And like usually like Muneeb and I used to kind of like work together. I was the head of growth at Blockstack, and when we do launches, it's like you'd be like up all night, making sure all the comms are right, all the designs right, like emails, all the copies correct, push everything out, like you were the company doing the launch. In this case, it was very different. Like it was so weird. Like I was a participant, my hands were like shaking because I was like, oh, is this thing gonna work or not? Holy smokes, it did. But when mining activated yesterday, I was just sitting at my computer watching, and that was definitely a different feeling. So it was really, really cool.
Yeah, to say the least, it's definitely exciting. Cool. Well, we've been in an interesting session today in AMA, and if anyone has questions for Miami Coin or the app founders coming up, let us know. Frankie, you can go ahead and take it away if you'd like.
All right. So friends, welcome back to another edition of Crypto Internet with Muneeb Ali, co-founder of Stacks, and Patrick Stanley, the CEO of Freehold. Today's a special Crypto Internet. We've scheduled this time so that you can ask Muneeb any and all questions about Stacks blockchain, programming on Bitcoin, Miami Coin, and more. But first, we'd like to feature two founders that are building on the Stacks blockchain. We have the founder and CEO of Open Art Source, which is an NFT marketplace specializing in minting and selling of NFTs of physical art. And we also have the CEO of Pravica, a unified communication suite that meets Web 3.0 standards and uses the blockchain technology to empower user privacy and security. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and give the mic to Muneeb and Patrick.
Awesome, thank you. I feel like we should welcome the two guests and let them introduce themselves. Abdou, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Muneeb. I'm Mohamed Abdou. I'm founder of Pravica, and Pravica, just like digital communication suite that's allowing users to protect their privacy and getting back the control of their data. I've been building on Stacks almost 3 years, starting 2018 at Stacks 1.0, and then the long journey till today. Pravica is a company that's closed the pre-seed round from prominent VCs like 500 startups, and we are building the solutions for enterprises to secure the digital communication, like changing or reinventing the whole communication protocols like email protocols, messaging apps, conferencing, and many others. Thank you.
Awesome. And you're going through the SAC accelerator right now as well.
Yeah, actually, this is absolutely right. We are very proud that one of the best 25 projects joined the first cohort of Stacks Accelerator, and helping us to complete the whole picture of what we are building and taking the products to the next level.
Awesome. And those of you who don't know about the Stacks Accelerator, or even if you're new to Stacks, so Stacks is like a truly decentralized ecosystem. The Stacks Accelerator is an independent entity. Trevor Owens started it. If you don't know Trevor, you should definitely look him up on Twitter. He's a big fan of Stacks, and he's doing a lot of work for the ecosystem. With that, Sasha, you want to introduce yourself to the audience?
Sure. Yeah, sure. I'm just here quickly to help host our two teams. I'm a venture partner with the Stacks Accelerator. Joined recently. Known Trevor before. He was an advisor in culinary, one of my businesses. Generally very excited about the ecosystem, obviously. And today I'm very excited about the two companies that you'll be talking to. You may have talked to Abdou before, or Mr. Abdou, Mohamed, about Pravica, but OAS, or Open Art Source, is new, and they've been incubating with the accelerator, and bring something that I think many people are waiting for, which is a way to sell and buy NFTs on Bitcoin, and they're kind of bringing their own spin to it, connect physical art to digital, and I'll just let Ilan kind of give you more background, but I think it's very fascinating, and something that it's just amazing to turn all the physical art out there into NFTs and give them a new lease on life and sort of immortalize them on what we all know to be the most secure chain out there. Ilan?
Thank you, Alex. It's a great presentation. Hi, everybody. It's really nice to meet you, Muneeb. As Alex said, yes, Open Art Source developed a technology that allows us to mint NFTs to physical art, and hence actually tying the offline world to the blockchain. All the other NFTs companies that you heard about probably are doing digital art, but we went for the harder problem, and actually the one that has maybe more meaning when you solve it, because most art in today's world is still physical. We are bringing this art to the blockchain and allowing artists and collectors to connect safely and transact, just as Sasha said, on the most secure blockchain out there, which is obviously Bitcoin.
Awesome. That's amazing to hear. And I think you mentioned, but you're also going to the Stacks Accelerator in the first cohort. I feel like there's so many amazing companies.
Yes. I'm sorry. Yeah, of course we
check
are.
out all of them.
Yeah, of course we are, and obviously we're really proud to be chosen. And I think, as you know, my co-founder Cecil said, it's so important that it was somewhat of a life-changing for us, because we learned so much, and we kind of looked at things different after we went through the last 2 months, and I'm sure that there will be additional changes and pivots as we will approach the finish line. Yes.
Awesome. So, Shannon, what's the format? Do you want to just dive right into the AMA, or you want to cover some of the topics first?
Yeah, happy to. Let's just go right into the AMA. I'm sure people have questions. I've seen ones come up already. Let me bring Omar on stage from the community. Omar, when you're ready, go ahead and ask your question. Looks like it's taking a little bit to load. If anyone has a question for Mohamed or Ilan or Patrick or Muneeb.
If you don't mind, while we're waiting on Omar,
Sure, go ahead.
I'll do a slightly more speak to open art source, kind of what they're exactly doing, because it's a little bit more than just NFTs, and that will help people with their questions, I think. So open art source has like two different sides to it. The first one is to help all the owners of existing, all existing artists take their physical art and make an NFT out of it. And then, of course, open art source serves as sort of the tracking system of that NFT as it goes around the secondary marketplace. Open art source is itself a secondary marketplace where you can view, find, trade NFTs as well. But an interesting thing happens in this particular case, because they're dealing with physical art. So with regular NFT, you just buy it on secondary market. It changes ownership, changes wallets, and that's it. With the physical art, there's an issue of fraud and fake art, and turns out that issue is really big. And in fact, current estimates show that most of the art traded online, physical art, is fake. So in other words, over 50% of all purchases end up people buying fake art. So the way open art source approaches the problem is having an NFT attached to the physical piece of art gives you one sense of security, because now you can see the history of that NFT passing, right, and when it was created. And that makes, you have that history. But whenever the buyer receives a piece of physical art, they need to be sure that this piece is still real. So somebody who was a validated person before could, decide that this is the piece that they decide they're going to fake. And so instead of sending the real piece of physical art, they might send them some, just a reprint or a fake piece. So open art source team developed an AI-based software that that allows you to take a picture of the art that you received, and the app or their software will tell you whether or not it's actually real, and whether the picture is blurry or tilted, or the art has aged a little bit. Like, the beauty of the software and the depth of it is that in the vast majority, Ilan, if you can maybe speak to the percentage, I think it's over 98% accurate. It allows it to say that, hey, this piece of art you receive, it is actually the genuine original work. So now you have the NFT, and you verified your genuine work of art. And this process used to cost tens of thousands of dollars. And it can now be done basically for pennies. So those are the two sides.
Let me try to say it back to you to make sure I understand. So I understand the problem of trying to verify if you got the correct piece of art. So what's happening here is that the source of truth is an NFT that could be digitally verified. But if you receive the physical artwork, you could take a picture of it, and then the software is going to compare against the NFT to tell you that you got the right version of that. Am I getting it correct?
It's slightly more complicated than that, but basically the way it works is the source of proof is the original maker of the art. If you're an artist and you upload a piece of art to open art source blockchain, you take a picture with your phone, an Android phone or an iPhone or whatever, and then our system takes the image and the details and creates an NFT out of it. Then if I buy your art and I receive it, I take a picture with my phone, the system looks at both images, both pictures from two different phones, two different lighting conditions, maybe two different generations even, and makes the decision if this is the original art or not. It has a more than 90% accuracy right now, and as we teach it more, the AI will become better and will be closer to 100. It is a way to actually make sure that the same piece of art, the one that the artist created, is the one that's being sold and not a fake one or a manipulated one or a print or whatever. There are other companies that are dealing with physical art, but they do it by using barcodes, and this technology is just not going to be secure in, I don't know, 10, 20, 30 years. Those stickers are not going to be able to face the test of time. And also they are basically keeping their businesses in the hands of manufacturers who might have an error in manufacturing, and then all those stickers could lead to unmutable errors on the blockchain. We decided to control the process of verification, to create the AI and to make it in such a way that it will be able to verify physical art, regardless if it's a picture, a statue, or other. And it will also obviously work on digital art when needed.
Awesome.
Resh, did you have a question?
Yes. Muneeb and Patrick, I'm going to ask a devil's advocate question here pertaining to CityCoin, which is now Miami Coin as one of the projects. From a high level perspective, it's very, from a generic understanding that I have, it's very close to what the BitCloud platform looks like, whereby the city can potentially sell their holdings to generate revenue that they can use to fund their projects. But wouldn't that also disincentivize anybody holding Miami Coin, for example? Because when they sell it, the coin drops in value straight away.
Yes, the city actually doesn't earn any Miami Coin. All they're earning is stacks, which are being forwarded to them as a base currency by miners who are mining Miami Coin. So the model is also a little bit different than BitCloud. BitCloud, no tokens on BitCloud, as far as I know, yield Bitcoin. And one of the reasons we move forward with Stacks is Stacks is secured by Bitcoin, and it also yields Bitcoin. And you can view city coins as a concept as like effectively a way of sort of Trojan horsing Bitcoin onto cities around the world's balance sheets. Now, not all cities are going to be able to hold crypto on their balance sheets, and so they can choose to they can choose to have their protocol contribution that is in Stacks, which can also be stacked to earn Bitcoin, auto converted into USD, like just dollars instead. But they never. If they want to get their own coin, they have to mine it just like everyone else. The thing is, they do have an opportunity cost of selling their stacks to get USD to fund projects, or using their stacks to mine more of their native coin. I think it'll be very healthy if cities are able to put crypto on their balance sheets and subsequently mine their own coin, because they will not have their own coin to begin with, so they can't affect the market of their coin if they don't buy it.
Yeah, I just want to add that the Bitcoin yield aspect is actually very unique here. Like whenever you're looking at treasuries, they typically have long time horizons in mind. So for example, Miami could decide that Patrick was saying that they have like 250K in their treasury right now if they're not claiming. They could decide to like sell the 250K and fund something, or hold on to it and get a 10% yield in Bitcoin. And I think like the 10% yield in Bitcoin is actually a pretty attractive option because it's more sustainable. Because you're holding on to your principal and you're earning a yield on it. And the yield is in Bitcoin. think if we know one thing about Bitcoin is that it is the best store of value out there. So I think in my mind, and obviously different cities are gonna react differently to it. The optimal strategy here would be obviously you want to liquidate something to USD and whatnot, but you should be optimizing really for earning Bitcoin.
Right.
Absolutely.
So am I right, just to check with you and Patrick again on one part? From my understanding right now, anybody that is participating in mining Miami coin, at the current stage, you get the coin that's being mined cannot be used on any specific project as a currency with the in the city because of the regulations in place. Am I right?
No, it's just municipalities generally cannot hold crypto on their balance sheet, so they can't save in crypto. That's changing for many municipalities. And I think it'll change for Miami as well. But anyone is free to develop applications using Miami coin that can be spent. There are already applications where you can swap from Bitcoin into Miami coin and back trustlessly with just a Bitcoin transaction. So one of the community developers, Freehold, built this thing called a catamaran swap. Because Miami coin is built on Bitcoin via and powered by stacks in that way, we're able to do these trustless swaps. So there are already like applications that are built that support Miami coin. Now, people can build applications that are useful within the city or accrete value directly to the city. But anyone from anywhere can create an application using Miami coin that can be used in digital space. So you can imagine proof of HODL access to certain chat apps where only Miami coin holders can go in there. So you reduce the noise. You keep FUDsters out, and you keep people that want to go heads down and do work and build relationships with each other in. So you have an out group and an in group. So it can be used just even for something as simple as that. And we also have software that allows that to occur. By we, I mean the community, like that's just floating out there. But people are going to build all sorts of applications that do all sorts of really interesting things. Because the coins are programmable and they yield stacks, and because they yield stacks, they also yield Bitcoin. So you're going to see a lot of innovation. You're going to see a lot of innovation there.
All right, thank you.
Great. Ilan, I have a question for you. What made you choose stacks for open art source?
So it's a great question. I think that if at a certain point everything is going to be an NFT, and I mean definitely everything in art. So if you own the Mona Lisa, which blockchain would you want to secure it? I think you would want to use the most secure blockchain, which is Bitcoin. And because Stacks is giving us the opportunity to do the smart contract on Bitcoin, it kind of made sense to go there. I think that's a big reason. There's other reasons also, obviously, the price of transactions, etc. But I believe that the security and the ability to create the contracts in a way that is understandable to humans are imperative in our minds.
Thank you for that. If anyone has a question, just go ahead and raise your hand at the bottom. Mohamed, a question for you. Curious to hear about the latest with Pravica and what sort of problems Pravica is solving right now. I know we've featured you on here before and would love to hear the latest and what's next.
Yeah, sure. In terms of the problems that Pravica are trying to solve, these problems related to the data privacy and data security. So think about sending emails, using messaging apps, especially for enterprises, where when you exchange critical data, like sending some research results related to whatever the industry, healthcare, whatever. So, and in this case, when you're exchanging very critical information, you need to make sure that your communication is totally private and secure. When you check the spectrum right now, you can see that all digital communication running on top of centralized protocols, which is, I believe, that is not the best thing to do. And we see that there is a rush in the media about the data breaches and privacy violation from different platforms that people were really trusting to use. But every single day we discover that this is not the best thing, especially for enterprises. This is the sector that we are focusing on delivering a secure alternative for them to use to exchange the critical information. This is overall about Pravica and what we are trying to solve.
I have a question for Ilan. Is it possible, and have you considered sort of creating a function where artists can get paid every time their art is resold? So you get paid once, if it gets resold every year, you get paid on some percentage of what it's reselling for. Almost like a VAT tax, like value after transaction.
Yeah, we actually already did that. I'm sorry I didn't mention it before. Our token actually has built into it royalties that artists get every time their art is being sold on the blockchain. So that's something that exists for any other sort of art. Like if you're an author, you would get money for every copy of the book you sold. If you're a musician, it's the same. If you're an actor, you get royalties for residuals, for reruns, etc. But with physical art, nothing. So we wanted to fix that. We wanted to let artists actually get lifetime revenues from things that they created. And then every time that the art gets sold, again, even though they don't own it anymore, they will get royalties automatically delivered into their wallet with the open art token. So yes, we are going to do it. And we're going to do it with physical art, which is much more complex than doing it with the digital one.
That's awesome. You kind of undersold that one. That seems like a huge deal.
Yeah, no, you're right. I'm sorry. I just, that we spoke to hundreds of artists, from any kind of age group and price point, etc. All of them, 100% of the artists are really excited about getting royalties for additional sales, like lifetime revenues from what they made. It doesn't matter in what kind of market or whatever. So we think that just by providing this benefit to artists, we are going to get many, many, many artists wanting to sell their stuff and present it on our blockchain. And the system that we're building will manage all that automatically. They will get paid immediately when the sale goes through. What we are building actually gives, that the art market is really built towards the super rich and the really, really famous people, the celebrity crowd, and most people, I think most people here in this room probably are not part of it just because they're being rejected. The market is closed for them. Just by providing this free data layer about pricing, about sales, about projections in the art world, what's selling and what's not, what's going up in value. I think it will give people the opportunity to look at art as an investment. They will be able to add it into their investment basket, and it will make the art world much more liquid than it is now. Right now, it's almost impossible to sell something if you're not one of the 1%ers, I would say. So
awesome. It sounds like you also will attract more artists who don't just make money on a one-time basis. They can make money on a repeatable sale of the same item basis. Which maybe you're totally right about, like the art world being the traditional art world, physical art world being a place where a lot of living artists never see the upside of how much their art appreciates because it's all being sold by more wealthy individuals were upselling it to other wealthy individuals. So that seems like a really fair sort of invention.
We want to try to open up the art market to real people, retail investors or people who like art. Again, we spoke to many people. Nobody told us we hate art. Everybody loves it. But most people just can't. It's really hard for them to get in and be part of the market. We want to liberate it. We want to actually make it democratic. Let artists who are having a tough time getting a gallery exhibition or be part of a sales effort by a dealer. We want to enable them to do that, and we want to let collectors know that they're buying the real thing and that they have free data layer that tells them, yeah, that's what's happening with this artist. That's what happened with this kind of art. And then they can make a decision if they want to invest or not. I think it will make a big change in the market. I think that, yes, we're starting with people who might be less famous, care about those people a lot. But I believe that many artists, again, from all levels, will want to participate on our blockchain.
Mohamed Khan, you can go ahead with your question.
Thanks. I guess it's for long. Real quick question on something you said earlier. The software is verifying the art. Is that essentially, are you solving an AI problem? Or are artists going to first verify through your blockchain, and then the software would be able to tell if this is a copy or if this is an original piece?
So the way the system works is that usually it's the artist who uploads, we verify the artist, and then the artist uploads the work to the blockchain. So if it's coming for the source, it's verified. We treat it as verified art. Then when it gets sold and resold by different people, we verify that it is the same piece. If that's what you're asking. And it is, and definitely an AI vision challenge. And the AI piece is, I would say, again, without going into details, quite complex and looks at many details to verify something. My co-founder, Cecil, actually wrote his master thesis in computer science about AI vision. And he used the theoretical background and experience that he got in Stanford to write the piece that I'm talking about.
Yeah, so I can chime in a little bit as well. So I'm not that familiar with the exact solution they've implemented, but in a more general sense, people do try to solve this problem outside of blockchains as well. So there are actually a few startups that I'm familiar with that try to solve this problem for luxury handbags or something. And like over there, you're actually trusting the database of the manufacturer, and now it is a AI visual problem that let's say there's a picture or a video of a handbag, and you are trying to verify from the picture using the authenticated database, which is actually coming from the manufacturer itself. So over here, I think the interesting part, at least to me, is that you're trying to basically democratize the technology in the sense that any artist could be like, hey, this is my work. So in a way, like the authentication is a little bit like, hey, I'm the creator, right? And I am signing off that this is the original piece. Pretty much like how a manufacturer would do that in their own database, and everyone knows that it's their database, right? But over here, they're just using an open network, and the AI problem here is actually pretty much the same, right? But now you're trying to verify against a different source here.
Yes, and also that art could be anything. I mean, I think a handbag, there's different ones, but a lot of it is relatively kind of the same. Without it could be anything, and the AI needs to be smart enough to be able to capture that and be able to make the right determination. But yes, we are solving a similar type of problem with AI. Yes.
Bowtie Marker, go ahead with your question.
First things first, thank you so much for having me on your guys' spaces. I'm highly flattered. Second thing, Assalamu alaikum to all of the Muslims in the crowd. I see a few Mohammeds. What's going on? Muneeb, of course, salam. Thank you for this beautiful creation that you guys ended up putting together. Couple of things. So one thing is Gaia. I'm asking a few questions for the Bowtie group as well. This one's coming from Arctic Wolf. He's interested in the Gaia project. And let me just list these so we can just run through all of them all together. So yeah, that's one for the Gaia project. The second one would be the extent of DeFi in terms of leveraged options, leveraged trading, things like that. I think there are some projects that are currently available. And I may be mistaken. I'm sorry about that if I am. I know there are some DEXs that are available. But in terms of like, let's say like a leveraged position or like an AVE that existed on, let's say Stacks, that would be highly interesting. That was just solely based on Stacks and its own reserves and its own tokens that were based on. Because in my opinion, I think the Bitcoin DeFi space is going to blow up, and Stacks is going to be one of the linchpins to this whole situation. I see a lot of opportunity on Stacks. We also do have a miner as well present with us, and that's Arctic Wolf as well. He has been mining some Satoshis for Stacks as well. Other than that, we do not have one person present. That's Bowtie Robin. He wanted to know if there was going to be any type of zero knowledge proofs that we're going to get kind of implemented into that. So in short, the Gaia project, further development of DeFi on Stacks, and then the third I am kind of missing now since I went through all of them all together. I'm sorry about that.
No worries. Let me answer, and then maybe I have a question for you as well about all the various Bowtie folks who are here. I'm very curious.
I'd love to answer any questions. I appreciate it.
How you guys know each other and so on. Anyway, so I think in terms of Gaia, I would say that this is a project that we've already done a lot of R&D work on and did a bunch of development. And it's effectively like, think of that as like a decentralization or encryption layer on top of existing cloud storage, which is a very sort of a different approach from a Filecoin or a RV, right? Like where they're trying to create new types, or Filecoin is trying to incentivize people to plug, hard drives into a new type of a decentralized network. Like our approach was like much more like practical. That hey, there's all of this storage that's lying out there in data centers and people computers all the time, and it was a very simple wide area file system that basically just encrypts and plugs in your existing storage in a decentralized way into the applications, right? So there,
Can I just interject really quick, just so that we can touch that, because I know that's sort of related to what was this? ZK proofs, right? So I think that was zero knowledge proofs. I said that earlier, right? ZK proofs, zero knowledge proofs. That sounds right. So I just wanted to clarify with Arctic Wolf that I did say that earlier.
Yes. So I think the proofing thing, at least in my mind, is separate from storage, because storage is just general purpose. You can store whatever you want on it. But I should mention that at least for the last more than a year or so, I can speak with at least my company, Hiro, that Gaia has not been a big focus, right? So the project is kind of stable. You can use it, but it's not been like that actively developed. And part of the reason is that the core of the work is really bringing smart contracts to Bitcoin. right? The storage stuff is kind of like a little bit disconnected from that, and obviously people need to store their data somewhere, but there are multiple options now in the crypto industry as well, right? Like you could potentially plug in like IPFS or RV or some of the system as well. So I want to just like highlight that thing as well, that yes, it's available, you can use it, but in terms of like at least my company, is it a focus? The answer is no. We are working more around developer tooling for smart contracts, which leads me into the second question you asked, because DeFi protocols do fall into the category of the type of stuff at least Hiro is actively building, because we do see a ton of opportunity here. Like in terms of like data storage, I look at that as almost like a commodity. Like there will be a bunch of storage options available. More optionality is good, and users can just like kind of pick which option they want to. But bringing DeFi to Bitcoin is very unique. It's also a pretty hard problem to solve, because you can't change the Bitcoin side of it. And I would say that where we are with that is in January, the Stacks blockchain launched in a decentralized way. And since then, people have been building like these different building blocks that you were kind of like referring to as well. So think of the atomic swaps that Patrick mentioned earlier. So those atomic swaps are, I think, a very critical building block.
I love atomic swaps.
And the fact that now you can do that from the Bitcoin side, so you can send a pure Bitcoin transaction, and you can swap into any asset that you want. It could be Stacks, it could be Miami Coin, it could be an NFT, and that's live, right? And I think that's huge. And then there are projects like Arcadico or Alex. Like there's a company, I know there's Alex from the Stacks Accelerator as well, but there's Alex, a company that is going to the Stacks Accelerator, and they're also building these liquidity type protocols. You mentioned Aave earlier. So that's the thing that I would say, that these building blocks are coming online pretty quickly in the order of weeks or months, and I'm personally pretty excited about what that they would enable around the Bitcoin ecosystem, because I think right now Bitcoin is pretty much like a store of value, and a lot of the DeFi stuff is happening across the pond on the Ethereum side. But I think I'm very excited about once we start doing this on the Bitcoin side as well.
Awesome. David Carney, can you go ahead with your question?
I'm sorry. I just have one last one, just because it's a competitor with Stacks, if you don't mind.
As well.
So with that being said, I know RSK Network and Rift Network is written on the EVM, and that's why I have my biases towards Stacks, because it's not written on the EVM. Would you be able to get into maybe pitfalls or anything that could potentially happen to Sovereign or thing, not like specifically Sovereign, but any type of EVM-based Bitcoin synthetic asset grower, right? That's technically the way I see it. If I'm completely wrong, please correct me, because I'm just a one-man team.
Yeah, no, I think being a non-EVM smart contract platform is actually like a big differentiator for Stacks. And we worked on Clarity language, and the main guy that worked on it, his name is Aaron Blankstein. He did his PhD with me at Princeton, and he worked at the Microsoft Research Compilers Group before.
Healthy competition, then I see.
He's a super smart guy. I highly respect him. And the Clarity language is like, mind blowing. Let me just give you one example. So today we saw the EIP, 1559 getting merged on the Ethereum side, and one of the big benefits that people are talking about is you would get better estimates on gas fees, right? Now that's great, like it's an improvement, but you actually can't really estimate gas fees in an EVM-based system because you don't really know what exactly is going to happen once these programs execute. So on the stack side, we don't have to worry about the problem of like estimating gas fees because you know precisely what the contracts are going to do and precisely how much gas fee is going to get consumed, right? Which is almost like a night and day type of a difference, right? The difference comes from like it's a pretty fundamental challenge that you can't really, if you have programmed your program, your smart contract or whatever type of a program it might be, using a certain programming language that is Turing complete, you can never really tell what the program is going to do. Like you can't really analyze it before it runs, right? Whereas if it's a decidable language, which is, think of that as almost like a slightly smaller subset of Turing complete languages, with a language like Clarity, you can actually tell what the program is going to do before you execute, right? And that's a game changer because it can. Now I'm going to switch from like just gas estimates to, even though gas estimates are an important problem, in the grand scheme of things, people are just like wasting money and there's like more congestion and unpredictability or whatever, but sure, at least you can run the program. But now switch over to the security side of it. On the security side, you never know what the smart contract on the EVM side is going to call and what that other smart contract is going to call and what's that other smart contract going to call, and eventually is there going to be a bug that is going to get triggered. Like on the Clarity side, you know precisely what the operation of the calls are going to be, where is it going to end, and what's going to be the end state of that smart contract. I know it sounds technical, but
no, I've looked at Clarity code and it's easy to read, and that in itself being easy to read and knowing which contracts are being called, I think that is a huge transparency buff to like a buff as in like an attribute to stacks.
Yep, that's correct. So that's another quality that the code is actually literally published on the blockchain, and there's no compiler, so exactly the same code that you see, that the same code that runs. But and in terms of like knowing what this program is going to do, like that I think cuts to right to the heart of the argument of like DeFi, right? Like if you're talking about a smart contract, like the POX smart contract right now, there's like more than $400 million worth of crypto sitting in the POX smart contract. But wow. I'm able to like sleep at night because it's written in Clarity, and I don't have to worry about random shit happening in that smart contract.
Or like a rollback, right? Like a rollback hack or whatever, like that. I'm sorry, like my hackathon and all that stuff. I'm not much of a developer. Article would probably be able to do it, but the Ethereum chain did have a security error where some of the contracts got rolled back, and so that definitely does not sound like an issue that would happen with Clarity because it has its checks and balances, from what it sounds like.
Yeah, so that was a thing you're referring to, the reorgs that were happening because of the MEV, the miners are extracting value out of those transactions. So that's a separate problem. Like it's not a smart contract language problem. It is at the consensus level, do the miners have an incentive to reorg the chain because they can extract more value out of it? And I think that's a separate topic that we probably shouldn't get into right now.
No, I want to be hesitant towards everybody's time. Just as one basic question, just so that everybody can kind of go ahead and because I know a lot of the Bowtie group has a lot of STX bags, but they're unsure in terms of where to delegate, how to delegate it. I would love to get maybe a pool or something where we can delegate some of our funds and kind of help with the development of this wonderful chain. Anything that would be, anyone that has, a through and through node that's been running since conception, I think would be someone that would be good to delegate to. Would you be able to help us out with that? Because I know collectively, I think all of us could run our own nodes, and one of us are running our own nodes and burning and mining. But in terms of the smaller holders, like let's say 10,000 stacks or 5,000 stacks, what would they be able to do to get an APY return that's safe? Because a lot of us are concerned about, this is our only stacks bag. You know what I mean?
Yep. So I think the way to do it is stacks again is a decentralized ecosystem. There are a bunch of different pools that are running, a bunch of different services involved. Like for example, exchanges like OKCoin, OKX, and a bunch of others. They offer pooling. Then there are a bunch of pools that are run by like community members, like Freehold. I think Freehold is like probably
anything that's decentralized. Anything that's decentralized, because that's what this community is about.
Yeah. So I think the pools like Freehold or XWorks, I think those two are something you can look into. They're already I think more than 1 million or 2 million stacks are already being delegated to them.
Okay, so thank you.
Yeah, you can go to, I think it's friedger.de, is in Germany. And then Xverse wallet is XEERSE. So I would just Google that. I forget the website.
Thanks, Patrick. Now we have a few minutes left. Damon, do you want to go ahead with your question?
Yeah, thanks, guys. Congratulations on the Miami coin. That's pretty cool. Quite an accomplishment for, I think digital assets and crypto in general. Have a city jump on and start creating their own coin here in the U.S.
Yeah, just to be abundantly clear, the city of Miami still has to claim their protocol contribution. So it's not official. There's no partnership between the community that launched Miami Coin and the city of Miami. But that's something that the community is working toward, and they're mining that in anticipation of that potentially being an outcome.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. With that happening in the States here, potentially representing the city of Miami, why is Stacks still not offered on U.S. exchanges? I mean, you could do decentralized exchanges and pick it up, or go on KuCoin and pick it up, but it's not offered. Say Crypto.com, or are we trying to offer it anywhere else? Is that in the cards, or wait on regulation? What's the scoop on that?
Yeah, I can give some background there, right? So I think one of the things that's different about Stacks is that we when we were doing the early R&D, like a lot of the crypto projects, even when they're in the early R&D, they would either not be very careful about the regulations, or kind of like try to come across as more decentralized than they actually are. So we took this approach of like, hey, while we are actually doing the R&D and there is a company behind things, let's just be very explicit about that, and let's just comply with all of the securities regulations that we should, right? And looking at the kind of like the new administration and kind of like the turning on the heat on the crypto industry in general, I'm pretty glad that we did that. So this was kind of like the earlier years of the project, like before the launch of Stacks 2.0 in general. And then when Stacks 2.0 was launching, we actually went to the other extreme, that now we're done with a company kind of like doing the work and doing all this. And just like with Miami Coin, there are a bunch of independent miners, you don't even know who they are, who kind of like triggered the launch and now the network live. This is how Stacks current blockchain Stacks. And then we went ahead with even encouraging as many independent entities in the ecosystem as we can, which I'm very proud of the fact that right now there are more than 30 independent entities, and these are truly independent. Like it's not like it's the same people who are just involved, like actual independent entities everywhere. And my company, Hiro, that was doing the development early on, like we stopped kind of like interacting with exchanges or any other type of typical activities that you would expect from a a company that kind of like started a blockchain project. We actually literally don't have anything to do with exchanges or market makers or any type of like promotion of the Stacks asset. We are a developer tooling company. So a couple of exchanges, OKCoin being one of them, and then recently blockchain.com, they've just independently decided to list Stacks. More exchanges might do that, but my company is not going to do anything about it, right? Other people can do something about it. Other entities can do something about it. It's a decentralized ecosystem, but I can at least tell you this much, that my company is not actively looking to have any exchange listings, and I'm completely kind of like fine with that because it's more organic this way.
I gotcha. So you're not paying for any listings. You're sort of just letting everyone come after you and list Stacks.
Yeah, and they don't even need to talk to anyone, right? Like it's open source technology. Anyone can go ahead, and that's what OKCoin did. That's what blockchain.com did recently. Like I literally heard about the blockchain.com listing, and they're open to US investors in the news. Literally, like it's like, oh wow, okay, this happened.
So then, last question for you, because I know your time is valuable. I don't want to waste a moment of it. So if I were to describe Stacks to a individual that hasn't been in the ecosystem before, about how it improves on the Bitcoin protocol as a layer 2 solution, or it speeds up transactions, how would you break it down to a novice in the space about what Stacks does for Bitcoin?
Yeah, so I think the way to say is like it's like smart contracts for Bitcoin, right? There are technicalities that is not technically a layer 2; it's actually a layer 1 that connects to Bitcoin. But I think at a high level, I describe it as Bitcoin is durable and stable, and you can't change it. So all of the changes, the new things are implemented on the stack side, but then Stacks can actually interact with Bitcoin. Like I was talking about these swaps or other types of like interesting things you can do across chain. So it's like that additional functionality that can't and shouldn't be implemented on the Bitcoin side, but it brings smart contracts and applications and new type of features to Bitcoin.
So it essentially has a verifiable ledger using Bitcoin, but then creates its own like type of subnet that transactions can operate on top of Stacks, essentially.
Yeah, it's like the analogy would be like if there's a lightning channel that then settles on Bitcoin, right? So you're doing like thousands of transactions on the Stack side, and then at some point those transactions are settling on Bitcoin, and they're benefiting from the security of Bitcoin. But interestingly, Bitcoin and Stacks can interact with each other. So you could just do a pure Bitcoin transaction, and you can trigger actions on the stack side. Like you can buy assets, you can interact with smart contracts just by doing pure Bitcoin transactions. And I think that's a very, very interesting part. So it's a little bit like people understand Lightning a little bit better. So I think it's sometimes you can use the Lightning analogy, but it's more than that because you can interact directly with Bitcoin transactions in a way like Bitcoin transactions would result in functionality in smart contracts.
Do you see it having the capability of some of these other blockchains creating NFT games, or strictly for finance, or do you think it has a scope of possibilities that can be built on it?
Yeah, it's general purpose, and anything that you can do in Ethereum, you could do in Stacks, anything you can do in any newer generation blockchains you can do in Stacks, and more, because those blockchains don't connect to Bitcoin, right? So, I'll give you an example. Some people are familiar with Thorchain, right? So Thorchain tries to do these like cross-chain swaps, right? Mm-hmm. It just tries to specialize in that. So Stacks has that built in with Bitcoin, so it can do swaps with Bitcoin. They're kind of like built in, but it is a general purpose blockchain, meaning that people are already building NFTs. We just listened to some folks doing that even today, and they're building DeFi protocols like Kawe. They're building automated market makers like Uniswap. So it's general purpose. Anything you can build on a general purpose smart contract platform, we can build it on Stacks, and people are already doing that.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time.
Cool. I know we're kind of at time here. Just had a quick question for Mohamed at Pravica. I know there's a lot of people in the audience that are interested in making communications more secure, and just wanted to find out quickly what sort of team needs you have on your side in case you're looking for someone to help with Pravica.
Yes. If you would like, simply, if you'd like to start using Pravica in a personal level, you can go to download the mobile app from iOS or Android, whatever you need, and then you just need your Stacks ID, or generally speaking, your decentralized ID that's based on BNS or blockchain naming system that's coming from Stacks. As simple as you just create your ID in like 5 clicks in a very easy way, and then you now can use Pravica. But you will not be able to communicate with anyone out of the Pravica ecosystem or out of the Pravica app. So you need another one that's already using Pravica and already has the Stacks ID, and then you can send him a connection request. Because even if you know someone has already Stacks ID, but you will not be able to communicate with him unless there is a connection request being sent between both of you. So this is how to protect your privacy and stop the spamming. So even if I know your Stacks ID, I will not be able to communicate with you unless there is a connection request between us, and then simply you can use it. This is related to the Pravica Messenger. I think by end of August, there is a major release on Pravica that allowing chat groups to be created and enhancing the performance relating to the Pravica Messenger.
Thank you for that. That's great to hear. And Ilan, where can people get more information on Open Art Source?
So we have a website, it's openartsource.io, and my Twitter handle is Ilan K, as maybe people can see. So you can definitely contact them here. And my email is ilan@openartsource.io. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Muneeb and Patrick, we're at time unless you have any other questions.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. I don't know if you know this, but I'm traveling, and where I am, it's actually 3 at night. So I'm just being fun to talk to all of you.
That was very kind of you. Thanks for hopping on.
Thanks, Muneeb.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Frankie, all yours.
All right, friends, I know this AMA was valuable to you, as so many of you were in my DMs championing so much of this information, but we are off. So join us next week, same time here on Twitter Spaces for Crypto Internet. Have a great evening.